Devices announced at CES 2014. One of those we already unboxed is the Sony Xperia Z1S exclusive for T-Mobile. A quick refresher about the Z1S. It's basically a new Sony Xperia Z1 made only for T-Mobile. It still features the same 1080p 5-inch display, a 2.2 GHz quad-core processor, but updated 32 GB of built-in storage, but the same 20.7 megapixel G lens and almost the same construction as the original Z1. The original Z1 was built all out of metal and glass, while the Z1S retains the glass but ditches the steel band in favor of a plastic one as a request from T-Mobile. Why, you may ask? It's in order to make sure this device will receive the best signal from their new 4G LTE 20+20 network. This is a Category 4 capable LTE device, which in theory will reach speeds north of 150 megabits per second. Now, T-Mobile's 20+20 LTE network is not really around yet, but it will be coming in later part of 2014, with much more coverage coming in 2015. The device has a very simple design. It's basically a flat slab of glass on both front and back and some really beautiful hardware buttons. The power lock button reminds me of an Apple design of buttons found on the iPhone 4 and up. It just looks really well engineered. The new plastic band is really unnoticeable and you are mainly touching the glass panels anyway, but you just don't have that metal band anymore. I do like how all the ports are under protective covers, mainly because of the IP58 rating, but it also keeps the design really clean. However, one single slot is incredibly difficult, and that one is the SIM card slot. The SIM card slot is a flexible tray, which is a hassle to insert back into the device. I would prefer a metal one or even a hard plastic where it doesn't flex. Not sure why they put a flexible one in here, but it's a real pain to put it back in. The backside of the device is one of my favorite parts of the phone. It reminds me of the Google Nexus 4 with its really simple design. You have a nice camera ring surrounding a 20.7 megapixel G lens, a beautiful Xperia logo, and some T-Mobile branding I could live without. Nothing too exciting, but it just looks fantastic. Now, the display itself looks fantastic in person. The colors are true to life, the images look amazing on this pixel-dense display, but one ginormous drawback is the built-in unremovable screen protector that is placed on the screen. You can't take it off, and it ruins the viewing angles for this phone. If you look at it dead on, the image is clean and clear, but throw it off even to the tiniest angle and the display looks like a washed out mess. Just take a look at the iPhone 5S with its IPS panel. The viewing angle is 178 degrees, almost a full 180, and the screen is very readable throughout the whole range. The icons appear to float on top of the display. The Z1S, on the other hand, can barely go past 35 to 45 degrees before you lose all legibility of the whole display. I'm not sure if it's the IPS panel or if it's the screen protector, but my bet is it's on the screen protector. Now let's dive into the whole experience. Nothing major has changed from the last Xperia Z1. We're still running Android 4.3 with Sony's UI. This is the Xperia UI, so we also have the applications like PlayStation Mobile and the host of Sony applications like the Walkman and the video series. Sony's user interface is actually pretty neat and simple. One thing I don't like, however, is the lack of options through the notification bar. Maybe Samsung has ruined me with basically having the whole settings page on their menu, but the lack of customizing what settings show on the notification bar is a real disappointment. One redeeming feature, however, is the ability to launch a multi-window type of view for a few applications like the web browser or calculator. It opens up right in a section of the display, and you can resize them, you can move them around, and have actually a couple of them on the same display at one single time. It's a really cool and simple experience. The experience through the whole device is overall really quick. It's what we expected from a 2.2 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 800 processor and Android 4.3. Doesn't miss a beat, plays games beautifully, runs applications just like they were meant to be run. The only stutter we found is the occasional web overload on Google Chrome, but even the best of the best, like the Note 3, can suffer from the same thing. Now, I know the IP58 rating is a big deal for a lot of people. Being waterproof in 4.9 feet of water is relevant to someone who lives in Seattle or may forget their cell phone on the occasional hot tub situation. I get it. But if you are that sort of person, this IP58 will come at a price. It's not something you can see, but it's more of something that you will hear. Since the speakers need to be able to withstand some water, they do have a lot of waterproofing, which means the sound is absolutely terrible. I'm sure you've heard about this before. They also have the same problem that the iPhone has. They all point in the wrong direction. It's not true stereo sound, which means the bad audio is even worse when you're trying to actually watch a video using the speakers. Just use your headphones if you wanted to watch a movie. Now, I'm not going to test the waterproofing of this device. I'm sure there's plenty of videos around the internet showing even the Z1 in water. So yes, it can take a dip in the pool. It can take 4.9 feet to up to 30 minutes. I trust them on that. I also wanted to bring up battery life since we really didn't talk about it much. The Z1S has a 3000 mAh battery. It's good to last a little over a full day with moderate usage. This meaning surfing the web, going through at least 200 emails per day, endless text messages, and the occasional Netflix or YouTube video. Now, the last thing I wanted to bring up is one giant selling point. It's the G-Lens camera. Apparently, this is lifted off of a CyberShot camera, or at least the technology is. Exmor sensors are legendary for being one of the highest quality sensors around. If anyone shoots with a Nikon DSLR, guess who makes the sensor? Not Nikon, it's Sony. Their Exmor RS for mobile is a larger sensor for a mobile phone. It does really well in capturing low-light video and photos, yet it struggles in the grain refinement. It doesn't have very good noise reduction in the photos. Compared to the iPhone 5S with its backside illuminated sensor, the iPhone has considerably less grain in the end result. Photos from the 20.7 megapixel camera are sort of soft too. Nothing is really in tight focus, yet it does well when it comes to capturing detail. Now, this compressed JPEG photo won't go through Photoshop for some extreme touching up, but you could add a few layers and mess with the colors and balance to give a better result. A new feature, or more appropriately, new features of the camera include the AR effect, info eye, and background defocus. AR effect is almost a gimmick. You can basically place cute little things in photos you take, mainly reserved for the kids or people who really want to put funny and kind of wasteful photos on Twitter or something. That's just not my cup of tea. Info eye is a little bit more interesting, where it actually analyzes the photo for any barcodes, QR codes, text, books, or really anything that's searchable on the internet. So after you take a photo, it begins searching through Google and all the other indexes. But last but not least is one of my favorites. It's called background defocus. This is a feature which will allow you to add an artificial bokeh after you take a photo. It works maybe 70% of the time. On this demonstration, I couldn't get this to work. Maybe it's because it needs maybe a more landscape photo, but it's also worth mentioning that the bokeh doesn't look very natural, and it's nothing that you'd get from a normal DSLR. So the Sony Xperia Z1S, it's a small upgrade that Sony made to their flagship Z1, but this one is only coming to T-Mobile. If you are switching to T-Mobile because of their ETF payoff, their expanding service, or just how cool the CEO is, the Z1S is a great choice. LTE 20+20 is seriously fast, and this device will be capable of supporting the new bandwidth when it launches this year. If you can live without good speakers and not having Android 4.4, the Z1S is a great choice. If not, I would wait, either for T-Mobile to launch their 20+20 network, or when Sony updates their phone to 4.4, or when they release their new flagship in 2014. Well, thanks for watching.